So I thought I'd first start by talking to you a little bit about who your reviewers are, because a place where people often go wrong, I think, is especially new investigators, is they don't really understand who it is they're writing to whom it is they are writing. So what's interesting about study sections is that even though there might be 30 or more people in the room, you're really only writing to 3 of those people. You're 3 assigned reviewers. And of those assigned reviewers, there will be one that is probably very close to your area, another one that might also be close enough to your area, and one that might not be very close to your area at all. But they are all experienced scientists. They have applications that are at least of the same sort of funding level as yours. So if you're applying for R01s, those are going to be R01 holders. So they'll have projects comparable or exceeding those being reviewed in scope, is the way you say that. They will also have, by requirement, in terms of the review officer's job evaluation, their annual evaluation looks at the distribution of that review officer's panels in terms of their geographic distribution, so people in Seattle don't get left out all the time, and people in Boston don't get pulled in every time. I'm not sure how that works out, but it's like the East Coast it's so easy to get people to come to study sections in D.C. because it's a one-day trip. You're in, you're out, and nobody even knows you were gone. And from Seattle, it's a 3-day trip. And so it can be very hard to get geographic distribution, and lately there have been some things they've done to try and improve that, but you still end up with a pretty challenging way to get geographic distribution. Also distributed by gender, race and ethnicity, and disability. So there can be a lot of factors that go into sort of the tensions that determine who your reviewers are. You want it just to be people who are your, perfect scientific matches, and there are other things at play there. So mostly they're scientists with a sense of community who understand the crucial role of identifying the most meritorious research applications. And I would add to that these are the people who are really interested in seeing, in driving science, in having something to say about what work gets done. It's also exciting to read grants and find out about what's going to be happening in 5 years. It's like reading a future version of journals, right? So it can be really exciting to read these applications. So that's who you're writing to, is just these 3 people. The 3 people discuss in front of these other 30 people. They discuss these applications, and then they recommend a score, and usually, with a few exceptions, usually the rest of the panel says, okay. You say 1.3, I say 1.3. So a lot goes into just these 3 people. So bear that in mind with the rest of this. You're on a very focused, sort of very pointed, determined objective. So reviewers are reminded over and over again that their job, and this phrase shows up everywhere. It's their job is to fund the best scientists, the best science by the best scientists. It's there so much I can't say it. So they are not doing all kinds of things that you want them to do. Like, they're not making sure that everybody gets a chance, that everybody gets a piece of the pie, that there's some kind of fairness involved. There's none of that. Right? This is the best science by the best scientists. These are taxpayer dollars that are going toward betterment of, in the case of NIH, betterment of public health, right? The betterment of Americans' health. In the most innovative, impactful way, from talented, experienced scientists working in places where they're getting great support. This is a flat-out competition. So that's another part of it people try to avoid, but this is a flat-out competition. There will only be a fixed percentage of those applications that will get funded. And then their job is to confirm, basically their evaluation is to make sure that you're the right person, asking the right question in the right place. Make sure all of those things match up. So it's not just about the research plan. It's about the biographical sketch. It's about institutional support. It's about the patient flow. So letters of support and things like that are all part of this application. Reviewers couldn't care less about your financial need. I actually will never forget, I had a review from I had an application once from a person who in their introduction to the resubmission described to us their mortgage circumstances. Absolutely serious. This has nothing to do with that. It does not, and this is actually, I'm talking more to you now as a reviewer, but less as a consumer in terms of being an applicant, but this is not a manuscript-style review, so don't look for reviewers to make improvements to your application or to your idea. Reviewers often can't help themselves, but that's not what they're supposed to do. They're really supposed to just look at it and go, this is good, this is not good. This is a strength and this is a weakness, is actually how we train them to say it. Definitely not trying to make sure that everyone gets a fair share of the funding, and you'll see that as times get tougher and tougher, the rich are getting richer. So the disparity, the income disparity, actually exists as much in research as it does in the rest of our world. So, strong labs just are able to be very productive. They attract, strong, hardworking people, and so that attracts more funding. And you can argue that that's a reasonable thing to have happen. It's not as true in our discipline, but it is true in biomedical sciences generally.